Yeah, let's start. Okay, I'm gonna call the November 8th, 2023 Sustainability Committee meeting to order. Gonna do a roll call. John Durant,
Yep, here.
Aaron Linus, looks like he's still trying to get on. Melissa Gavin,
Here.
Steve Douglas,
Here.
myself, Michael Pomykowski, and Brian Mooney is also present. We will wait to see if Aaron actually gets on. He's still connecting to audio. So we're gonna keep on going. Is the agenda. Is there any public comment? Anyone out there wanting to make a public comment? Did you get anything emailed to you, Brian?
I did not.
Okay. So now we're going to go into general business. Do we have any committee member report outs and updates? Okay. Hearing none. We'll move on to the discussion and possible approval of the October 11th, 2023 Sustainability Committee meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve these minutes?
Steve will give a motion to approve.
And I will second that. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed, nay. Hearing no opposition, the minutes have passed. Okay, now we are on to the discussion, possible action regarding the No-Mow Eco Lawn grasses. We talked about this last week. I think Aaron was going to try to get someone, Orion, as you mentioned, Brian, before the meeting. And John, were you going to do some outreach also on this?
I did some outreach on this. The outreach I got was that I needed to outreach to a different organization. And I just sent out something, but I have not heard back from them yet.
Alrighty. So waiting there. Aaron, I see you're on. Did you said that Ryan guy Ryan Dietrich was his name? Was he going to attend the meeting? Can you hear me at all, Aaron? You're on mute, Aaron.
Looks like Aaron's muted.
Okay. Well, you had a conversation with him today, you said, Brian?
Yeah, I can quickly brief everybody on the discussion I had. So Ryan from Olson Toon called me this morning, and we just chatted for a few minutes about the topic on the Eco Lawn, this fescue mix. Basically summarizing what he said, you know, it could serve as a good alternative for areas that you'd like to not have mowing maintenance involved with. He did say it was a good idea. It would be something that could potentially work. What he did state, though, would be there is, if you are looking at retrofitting existing park space, that would probably be a non-starter in the sense that the upfront costs for readying the transition to the new area that you're going to be seeding or planting this fescue mix, it's going to be very cost prohibitive to do it. I think his rough estimate, even though he didn't have any way to really truly base this on fact, he said it was probably upwards of $10,000 an acre to make that kind of a conversion. So I think it was kind of recommended that this might be a good idea for you to do. I think leaning more towards like future property or park space that you're going to be dedicated from a developer, if you're able to first work with a engineer or a design landscape architect to tell them what the design of that park is prior to your taking that parkland dedication over as village property. But he thought in theory that it was a good idea. So it's definitely something to think about. And he even said he didn't think the cost for like the seed mix for the fescue is going to be too different than actual grass seed. He also stated that some of these mixes that they have now, they've even seen some places that have like interspersed that seed with like some flowering mixes so that there's different, color given to those and different, visually more pretty, results as when those are actually fully established. So he said there's some options that you could explore, but he just didn't know that the conversion of existing space and retrofitting it with it would be cost effective.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's okay, great. Well, thanks for having that conversation. Did he call you or did you reach out to him or how did that get facilitated?
Aaron actually called me earlier in the morning today and let me know that he had contacted Ryan and that Ryan would maybe be joining us tonight. And then Ryan called me later this morning and we had, a 15-minute conversation or so, just kind of walking through and talking about some of those things that we had outlined on this memo from Jay and just, whether or not in his professional opinion, it might be something worth exploring. I also, following that conversation with Ryan, I briefed Mike Axon, our Parks and Rec director, about that conversation. And Mike said that they are working on this and discussing this within the Parks Committee currently. And they're doing some research. And they actually got, I want to say, I'm just looking at my notes here. Village resident Bruce Schweigert, who I believe works somehow through the UW landscape architecture program or landscaping department at the UW, who offered some feedback to their group related to the same topic. So he said he'd be able to share some of that feedback as well. So some developments are on the horizon, let's put it that way.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah, I think that they talked about it at the last Parks and Rec meeting and I was kind of sort of like seeing like if Mike's gonna post that video because I'd kind of like to hear like what that fellow said because I think he actually came to the meeting and spoke about it.
Okay.
So okay, maybe this is Aaron trying a different person here. Oh no, somebody else is coming in. Don't know.
I'm guessing I'm guessing that cost, which is really high, probably if you wanted to retrofit these park spaces, you probably would have to kill everything off, is what I'm thinking. And then, a multi-year kind of process for getting that established. I think that's probably why it's so expensive. Not
Right.
surprising.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I did figure out in all of this is it's probably a 3-year process.
Oh, really?
I'm wondering if it probably is similar to establishing a prairie, in an area where you have to go in, pretty much kill everything off and start fresh. So that's probably where that big cost is coming from. But, that's a good idea. If we've got, future development happening, maybe we can think about it there. But how are we going to remember to do that or recommend that?
Yeah, so did he say any reason why it was $10,000, Brian, at all, or did he just like throw that out there just as a guess?
I'm
It
on
just-
now. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm on.
Oh, hello, is this Ryan?
Hi, this is Ryan.
Excellent,
Good
excellent.
evening, Ryan.
Good evening. Sorry for the delay. I was actually commuting while I should have been connecting.
No problem. I was just giving the group a real quick rundown of our conversation this morning by phone. And I just shared that you had estimated that the possible cost for like a retrofitting on an acreage basis might be around like $10,000. And so the question just came up as you were just logging on here. If you could provide a little context as to the background for where that $10,000 figure might have come from. Like, what did you take into account?
Yeah, I actually just kind of tried to figure out. I mean, you'd have to spray it with Roundup multiple times. So I looked at the square footage and what it would cost to spray it. And then I looked at what it would cost to, you'd probably, I think the best way to do it would be to drill in the seeds after it's sprayed. So I looked at the cost of the seed and the cost to drill it in, and it really might not be that expensive, but I was kind of basing my calculation too off if you would need to cover the seed with straw or a straw blanket or something. So it wouldn't necessarily need to be that expensive, but I was using some of our estimation, some of, the numbers that we use to estimate and using the square footages. So I was trying to base it on actual calculations.
Right, right. So you'd have to go in and kill up everything else then. That's basically what you're
Yeah,
saying.
multiple
Spray it with-
times. I mean, we just did one that we had to spray 3 to 4 times. So, it's important because, I mean, I've done them where we didn't spray. I've done them more the natural way, but the problem is a lot of that stuff reemerges from the root systems. So it's really almost imperative that you do kill it with Roundup or some post-emergent herbicide, so that you get the roots killed, because that's what I've seen cause problems. But I mean, I tried to look at all the costs involved with what you could expect if you were to change a 1 acre, to change that area from something that's grass to something that is prairie like or like a no-mow grass seed mix.
Right.
Hey, Ryan, I also let the committee know a little about how you said you could intersperse this fescue seed with some other seeds of like different flowering plant life. And can you just quickly just describe that? Because I don't think I did it justice.
Yeah, so you take your fescue seed mix, and then you can mix in. I'm working with a client right now that I don't know a lot about the seed, but they bought, like, I would say the closest explanation would be like some type of a wildflower, like a perennial wildflower mix that we are mixing in with the normal fescue, so that if you don't cut it, some of those wildflowers have a chance to grow and flower. So it can be something that's aesthetically pleasing. In addition to something that's low maintenance, it can be far more aesthetically pleasing than just grass.
Mhm. Yeah, that'd be cool.
I mean, I think there's a big trend to these types of plantings because one thing Brian and I talked about with the village and with Olson Tune is just labor. Labor is expensive. The equipment is expensive. The carbon footprint, I guess you could say, is expensive in some ways. So I mean, I think there's a pretty good trend and there's some pretty good you know, there's some pretty good movement for people that want to do this type of thing. You know, one thing we talked about is obviously it's, you know, it can be cost prohibitive to make that change once you've already had, you know, once you've already had a park or a space that maybe has grass that you're already cutting. Because the upfront cost, I mean, there's a considerable upfront cost. I mean, I'm not trying to scare you away because, you know, it certainly could be less if it's an ideal situation with ideal timing. Maybe that 10,000 number, you know, dollar number is an overestimation in some ways. But I tried not to, you know, grossly underestimate it either. I mean, so, I mean, I think one thing we talked about is this could be something easier to do on the front end, and I know that's always hard to get a developer or to get like an engineer to follow through on, you know, you guys' your wish to do it this way.
Right, right. Okay, well, great. Well, we were just kind of going out and just kind of trying to see like what the possibilities were about doing this and what upfront expense would be. And once it's pretty much established, does it just kind of take care of itself? You don't really have to do a whole bunch then?
So initially with like normal grass mixes or low maintenance grass mixes or prairie mixes, initially you know, initially you're going to have to cut it the first year like once a month. And a lot of that is to prevent any of the perennial weeds from growing and seeding. So, you know, the first year it's more maintenance. You know, year 2 and beyond, you're typically cutting it or burning it once a year. So after the first year, it's very low maintenance.
Gotcha.
I mean, one trend I talked to Brian about that we're seeing with a lot of you know somewhat suburban or you know developments on the edge of town is, you know, rather than like playground park spaces or you know large green spaces, we're starting to see a lot more natural areas and walking paths that may either be grass walking paths or you know like a limestone, like a crushed limestone walking path. But there seems to be, you know, it seems like a lot of people value being able to walk, you know, through spaces like that. So, which, you know, you could probably incorporate a lot of, you know, natural or native or, you know, normal planting spaces with that, with those types of spaces with, you know, like walking paths.
Right, right. Yeah.
I mean, I think playgrounds and in parks are certainly, I mean, we see it with depending on the builder or the developer, you know, like, you know, Viridian is in Cross Plains now, and it seems like a lot of first and second time home buyers. So a lot of the demographics of their home buyers, you know, can certainly be younger families. So, you know, sometimes you know, and like Heffron has done neighborhoods west of Cross Plains and Black Earth and Mazomanie, and you know the demographics of the people that are buying homes in those neighborhoods. Small playgrounds are certainly a nice feature for those types of developments. Um, but you know we're seeing you know some developers that develop larger lots with smaller developments, and sometimes those, you know, the demographics of the people in those lots are, you know, maybe middle age or above, and it seems like the more natural and walking paths and maybe a pond or you know something like that seems to appeal more to, you know, it kind of depends on the development and the people that they're marketing those spaces to.
Right, 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 right.
Good
Great.
feedback. Thank you, Ryan.
Yeah.
Yeah, did anybody have any other questions for Ryan at all or concerns? Okay,
Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're very welcome. And, you know, Brian can always reach out to me via email or call me at my office if there's any follow-up needed or any additional information that you guys would like.
definitely. Thank you very much. That would be great. We're just kind of going out and just trying to get some initial information on what would have to happen to do this and cost and et cetera.
Sure.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Ryan.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a nice
Ryan.
day.
Will
Thank
do.
you. Yep. Bye.
Okay, did anybody have anything else they wanted to talk about on the NOMO Ecolon subject at all?
Sorry, I've missed 2 meetings, so I'm just curious, is this just about the village, just village property? Is the parameters of the conversation?
Yeah, it was just basically for some park spaces because it just has to do with the expense of mowing all the park space. It was an idea presented by Jay, if we could convert some of these to a no-mow / eco grass system where we wouldn't have to go out and mow it, that it could save some money on a weekly mowing cost.
Yeah,
And, you know, putting it in places like out in out in Scenic Valley, there's a big, like, one of the retention ponds out there for the stormwater. I mean, it's just a bunch of grass and it's not really like in a park, and if they mow it and it's a fairly large piece of land, and if that would be converted over to something like this, then it wouldn't have to be mowed and probably wouldn't really impact a whole lot of people's enjoyment of like
Yeah.
park space.
yeah. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, so that was just the thought. And then it was also, are there other places in parks where we would want to convert this? And there really wasn't a whole lot of discussion about location. It's really just more what would it take to get it done, how much work. I guess one of the things we forgot, I mean, he said it would cost $10,000. I guess afterwards, I mean, he said you'd have to mow it once a month to get rid of the weeds. And that's, I guess he asked that because I was curious if you had to weed it that first year, but I guess it just depends on if you're going to mow it or if you're going to go out and hand weed it or just knock the big ones out. It just depends on how much effort you want to put into it, I guess.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, because if it's a large tract of land, I know you're going to get weeds growing back in it as soon as you disturb soil, unless you go out and blast it numerous times with Roundup, you know. So yeah, that's where all that came from. And like I said, Parks and Rec had a discussion where that other fellow spoke at it. I think Mike's going to post that video. I would like to hear what was said, because kind of coming out of that, I know at the last village board meeting, Cody Bratton is the trustee on that committee, and I think he kind of came away from his meeting thinking that it was going to be a lot of work and be very expensive, and it might not be. He didn't seem like he was real behind it. Let's say that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just based upon, I think, kind of like what this guy, I think, yeah, I don't know. I'd like to hear the recording, but he didn't come back being like, this is the greatest idea ever. He was kind of like, this is going to be expensive and a lot of work and etc.
Yeah. I can't help but think that the expense, if we're not philosophically opposed to it, that the expense thing is something that we can figure out. And I think a lot about these federal funds that are coming out, and IRA specifically, and how that's trickling down to state agencies. And I know that the Wisconsin DNR has gotten some funding. They have folks who are staffing right now to try to help communities figure out how to use these resources. And one of them is around helping communities increase climate resilience efforts at water utilities. Now, there's a kind of a tenuous connection, but I'm wondering about whether the expenses for a program like this to increase no-mow or low-mow, like riparian buffers potentially, could help decrease, like there could be a connection with reducing carbon from the the machinery required to mow the lawns. And also then there's also kind of decreased waste, decreased, I guess, increased improved water quality that's coming into the water utilities potentially. So I think there's a connection there. And I'm going to volunteer to reach out to the Wisconsin DNR. I've got a contact there who's actually trying to connect with communities to try to figure out how to use these funds. And his job is specifically to help with municipal water utilities and how to increase climate resilience efforts at municipal water utilities, and how to use those federal, like how to help communities use those federal funds. So
Yeah.
I will volunteer to reach out to Ezra. His name's Ezra Meyer, and see if there's a connection there. It seems a little tenuous, but I also feel like I can make the argument. So I'm going to try.
No, I definitely think, I mean, the village doesn't officially, I mean, like when I was talking about around that retention pond, I mean, it would be part of our stormwater utility, although we don't officially have a stormwater utility, but it is for capturing stormwater and retaining it. And if we can get a no mow or eco-friendly grass on there that we don't have to mow, then it's like kind of win-win sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
And that's where, and that was even part of the argument. Now, I don't know what our mowing costs are per acre off the top of my head. I mean, I could go back and probably figure that out if I like back calibrated some of the bids that we got for mowing, for like what they were doing for these areas. But just even like as an example, I believe that retention pond in Scenic Valley, I think, because they had like the different parks broken out for like, this many dollars per week to mow this and this and this and this. And part of the reasoning was because that retention pond area in Scenic Valley was like listed on some of these bids at being close to $1,000 a week to mow it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So looking at that $10,000 upfront 3-year cost, that, you could possibly be knocking $32,000 in savings of mowing a year, like forever then.
Yeah.
And then you're not, equipment and fuel and et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. Yeah, totally agree. Well, I'm happy to move that. I just sent an email to my contact at the DNR who just got a job trying to help communities do this. So I'll let you know what I hear back. But I think that if it's really just a financial thing, if philosophically we are in agreement, then it seems like that's something we can figure out.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I would definitely like to hear what the fellow that came to the Parks and Rec meeting had to say, just to listen to a second opinion and just see like, like what his ideas were, how close they were to what this fellow tonight told us. But, I don't think this guy was really giving us poor information. It's kind of like what Steve was talking about when you start a prairie. You kind of have to go in and
Nuke it.
Yeah, exactly. And then you start there and you start regrowing. Now, whether or not there are easier ways or better ways than roundumping it numerous times, I mean, I don't know. I'm not a plant guy, but maybe that's the way you do it. Okay, well, thanks a lot, Melissa. That would be great, because if this can come in as part of a grant thing, then it kind of takes that whole entire monetary piece out of it, and like to a large extent.
Yeah. Okay. I'll let you know what I hear back from Ezra.
Definitely. All right. So now we're going to move on to the sustainability plan. First, I'm going to give you the update on the school and government benchmarking thing. Brian had sent me an email earlier where they were asking if I would go in and share our information with our one contact, because I had neglected to do that. And so I'll be honest, earlier today, I actually went out and said, here you go. And I'm sharing our stuff with you. And I don't know if she responded to get in there or not, but I haven't entered a whole lot of information in there. I went and entered all properties in there and did them to the best of my knowledge. I mean, you get in there and I'm like trying to enter in the wastewater treatment plant. It's kind of asking me these questions about our wastewater treatment plant that I really don't know. So I just kind of put some of those on pause to maybe get re-answered like at a later date. I was able to figure one out. I went out and found a wastewater treatment plant report that was written up by Town and Country and figured out what the max capacity of our wastewater treatment plant was. But some of the other things I wasn't sure about, and I'm not even I mean, I don't know. It seems like you enter in this information, it's just going to give you, it seems like at the end of it, because it's part of the Energy Star thing, it's going to give you an Energy Star rating.
Hmm.
And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm going to just see. I don't know. I need to figure out some of that information, just get it put in and see how it goes. I don't know. But I did get that done, Brian. So it's been shared. I just need to type in some numbers now.
Great.
Thanks, Michael.
Yeah. Okay, so now this is the progress on the sustainability plan. And a few meetings ago, we kind of were talking about the viability of some of these options and if we wanted to continue to pursue them or which ones people wanted to work at. It was just kind of this big sort of what do we do next kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of at the last meeting, I know you weren't there most, but I kind of asked people to kind of like write down like their top 5 or 3 items that they would like to see done, and even possibly they would like to actually like to work on it to see which ones of these are viable if we wanted to do that, or we could go through them one by one. I mean, however people, I don't know if people did their choices or not, or what, kind of throwing it out there. How would you guys like to proceed? Anyone?
Well, probably everyone's priority.
Okay. Did people list any tasks that they saw as being a priority they would like to see implemented? Or
So,
Maybe we could do that right now. We can all, is everybody at a computer and we can just kind of put our initials in a column?
mine's not working.
Yeah, I can do that. And that was one thing that kind of came to mind as I was looking at them again. I think we brought this up before. It's the prioritization of them. It's like, what is even, what's feasible, what's not. This sounds really interesting, but there's no way I could do this. I mean, that's kind of, as I was going through this, it's like, oh, that one's really cool, but
Mhm.
I wouldn't have enough information to even begin on that. So I don't know, maybe a group review would be a way to go on this.
Yeah, I think I think it's a good idea. And I think that, we're 2 years, we adopted this 2 years ago, and we've learned a lot about what kind of both like the politics in Cross Plains and how we can move things forward, and also what programs are useful and maybe what are less useful, or what's viable. So I think it's a good time to check in on this. I just chatted out the link to the plan priorities document, so hopefully folks can join us in there. And I don't know, my recommendation is that we use column H to, I'd say I'd give us a little bit more than 3 or 5, Michael. I'd say, what do you think? Maybe up to 10. But I think your question is important of like, hey, we should pick a few to focus on and really try to get these over home plate. When we presented on this 2 years ago, or when it was adopted 2 years ago, I think that at least I was probably thinking about this as being like about a 3-year document. And I don't think that's I don't think that's explicit anywhere. But I was thinking about this in my head about being about a 3-year document and that we would need to come back to. So we're 2 years in. Now's a really good time to do a check-in to see what do we think still has legs, what's still important. So how would that work if we were to use column H? You can put your initials in. Probably we're going to have multiple people putting their initials into the same rows, and that's okay. But up to 10.
yeah, it was. Yeah, I wasn't going to limit people. I mean, if they felt a lot of them, they could put them in a bunch of other ones. It wasn't. But the question was just, go through and actually like initially was which ones really did you want to like see done, or you think that you could actually help complete was actually sort of like the thought process.
Yeah.
Because if you don't think we can get them, like if you don't think you can help get it done, then you know, do we need it? Do we still need to be having it in the plan is sort of, it was the idea.
Yeah, and I think that we also might want to think about how we can tweak some of these. So some of these I might put my initials next to, and then say, here's where I think we should go with this. Here's how I think we might want to adjust this priority. So
Okay.
we can talk about that too. But how about if we all take like 5 minutes on this call and use column H to put our initials in? Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Aaron,
And is the
Steve, does
is
that
the
work?
idea,
Um,
Melissa, to put your
it is.
initials in something you think is viable?
Yeah, that's a great question. The way that I would say that is it's sort of a blend of two things. It's what do you think we should where should we prioritize the committee's resources to get these over home plate in the next year? And that is probably that's probably comprised of two things. What do you think is viable and what do you think is important? And it's those two things together that I think would lead you to put your initials somewhere. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I
Yes.
can't navigate this.
Aaron, do you need any help? Do you want to just verbally say where you'd put your initials and then somebody can
Yeah,
type it
that'd
in
be
there?
fine. I'm having problems with my tablet right now. It's trying to
Okay.
hook up. So
How about
yes, please.
if you verbally share that out, and Brian, would you be able to, since you've got screen share, would you be able to throw Aaron's initials in there while everybody else puts ours directly in there?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
And let's take 5. Michael, how about if we set a timer and then check in with folks?
Okay, yeah, we can. Yeah, I'm just looking at the clock, like 6:44 probably be like a good time to be like,
Great.
we want to do 5 minutes.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Ah. All right. All right. Okay.
shit. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're getting close to our time. Is everyone almost done?
I'm done and I'm ready to make some pitches.
Okay.
It is.
How's everybody else doing?
Ready?
John, are you good? I assume that's a yes.
John is good.
I think I'm good too. I'm just trying to get down here. All right, that's good. Let's start talking about them. Fire away, whoever wants to. I'm just reading here.
I'll start. So I'm gonna make some pitches here, everybody. My pitches are I went for 11. Felt like I could have gone for a couple more, but I'm trying to be realistic. Sadly, I did not prioritize the solar farm, which we've worked pretty hard to get, but we're hitting some dead ends right now. So I think until we can unlock some resources, that's not a priority. But I want to prioritize a couple things that we have a lot of energy related things that I think some folks are gelling around, which is terrific. But I'm going to make a pitch for two things that I think we should think about how to move forward. Even if we don't have a solution, we should think about a plan to get there. One is around composting. And that's because I heard recently that the average, like the best strategy that the average, suburban family can do, the best strategy is to reduce food waste and compost our food. And we don't really have a great system, even if it's like training people how to use it. So I want to lift that one up. The other thing that I want to lift up is we don't have any great strategies on reducing emissions around transportation, greenhouse gas emissions around transportation. And I think that our transit has sort of fallen flat. There's not a huge interest area from the residents when we polled folks like a couple of years ago. But I'd love for us to continue pushing on that. And there's this great report that came out recently about how communities can integrate the transportation planning with their climate action plans. And I think there might be some pieces in that we can integrate. So I'd lift that up as like, we're not out at sea. We can kind of draw on that report, but I'd say, let's not leave that behind. I'll stop there. Probably should have given me a time limit, Michael. Like everybody gets 3 minutes to make their pitch.
Okay, that's wasn't a big worry or anything. Okay, anybody else want to go or?
I'm gonna go back to our very beginnings and why we got created, why we started this
Origin
in
story.
the first place. And the very first two things that I put my initials by had to do with stormwater and flood remediation or flood avoidance. And so I'm going to make my pitch on those because it does not seem like much has changed since 2018.
I'm following John on both of those.
Mhm.
Yeah, those are kind of what really piqued our interest about this whole initiative here. So would be great to make some headway on that.
Mhm.
Michael, you've done ton of work on light ordinance. It'd be a shame to lose that momentum there. I liked that one because you had already done so much work. It felt like we were really close.
Mhm.
And then the other thing I liked was the thing about giving the village kind of like a checklist whenever they're making decisions about things to consider sustainability. I'm trying to remember where that is. Scrolling through line row 25, develop sustainability checklist, a one pager, so that village staff could have this kind of at the ready when initiatives, come before them. Could they just check that briefly? I don't know what it would look like. We don't have to know what it looks like yet, but I like that because those are the decision makers, and that's how stuff is getting done. Okay,
Mhm.
that's Steve.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go. I agree with the flooding stuff. That was kind of the initial thing and nothing, yeah, moved on that. And I don't know what Carp C is doing. The water retention project, we didn't get that grant and it kind of died. The solar farm piece is difficult. I was that one, I don't know. It's really just it's just the possibility of finding the land. And that's really the major stumbling stone there. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that land at the top of brewery. Should he want to sell it? I've always said that's a great place for it. Yeah, the light ordinance, that's near and dear to my heart. I kind of got stopped waiting for other people to see what other people were going to come out with. And some of the stuff they came out with wasn't as shocking as what I thought it was going to be. And I just need to finish up what I'm doing on that and just make decisions and just see whether or not, like if it's too restrictive or not restrictive enough, and just see how it's handled by the community plan commission, etc. Going through all these other ones, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think I just overthink it like I do sometimes a lot of things, and I just read it and I'm just like, how do we encourage new homes to meet Energy Homestar's standards? I mean, what does that mean? Is that a educational piece? I don't know. I mean, it's like energy is like easy to manage, but how do you do that? Or like the promote focus on energy pieces, I mean, we sort of did that, and you and John showed up, Melissa, Melissa and John went to it. So it's kind
Yeah,
of
but we got some free light bulbs and
absolutely.
I got a lot of cool stuff.
I got a great power strip. I
Yeah.
agree on that, Michael. But it is just like, it's that grind of just offering that and continuing to offer it and making sure that, that's what the ongoing work of the sustainability committee is. So
No, and I agree. I agree. I'm not. So I mean, so yeah, prioritizing energy efficiency and conservation in all municipal purchases, electrifying buildings, anything concerning that. I do like the composting piece though, Melissa, because I'm fairly conscious of how much just plant matter in the household where I live just gets thrown in the garbage, and how much of that could just be not done like that.
mhm.
And that's definitely one sometimes when I read this where I'm like, man, especially like, and I've thought of it, and compost, like for a while we were thinking about like being able to possibly get a grant for like home composting bins so that people wouldn't have to buy it, they could try it out. I just wonder if those underneath these, the IRA things, like, do those grants exist to try to reduce that sort of footprint?
Yeah, definitely. There are going to be some grants coming out, and a lot of the funds are coming from the feds to the state, to state governments, and then state governments are trying to figure out what to do with it. So there's just sort of, it's going to be a lot to try to figure out, but there are some federal grants around reducing vehicle miles traveled. It's like this, it's a climate, these are climate grants, but reducing vehicle miles traveled on when it comes to like food production. And that can connect to to composting and soil health. So there are connections, all by way of saying, yes, there are federal dollars out there. The trick is identifying them and applying for them. And I
Right.
think that there will be intermediaries that are going to make that easier than just going to the federal government, but it's going to be tricky. Michael, I'm wondering about, as we have like, I was just kind of looking through, I don't know if Aaron, if you were able to get your initials in there, if you need more information on some of these, we haven't heard from you.
No, that's fine. I mean, I'm listening to the information here right now, and I think there is a couple of good points too. I think the composting, the storm sewer water too. I don't know if there's any educational programs for current resident composting.
Not that I know of. And that's here. What I would suggest, Michael, is that we figure out what a smaller list is, and then figure out maybe some, dare I say, subcommittees who can move these forward. And also to pitch what a tweak would be, because my recommendation around, like, I put my initials next to the transportation, this line, row either 23 or 24. It's actually priority number 23. Design and execute a transit plan. My recommendation is not that we would have a transit plan, but that we would actually just do something on reducing emissions from the transportation sector, and that we could pull together a subcommittee who could tweak that priority and come up with a recommendation about what we might do. Because I think we're sort of stuck. I think a lot of these we're feeling a little stuck. And it would be good if we could narrow it down, if we could deputize the people who are willing to work on it to make a tweak in terms of, to make a suggested pivot in terms of how we work on this priority and bring that back to the committee.
Well, yeah, I agree. It's all about who wants to be the deputy of whichever row they want to, work on is the whole question. And yeah. So I don't know how to do that. How do you want to do that?
Okay, here's my recommendation. I'm going to put this out to the group to see, and this is why, Aaron, I was curious that we haven't seen your initials, because my recommendation is that we all put our initials up to the, 10, up to 10, and I cheated, I did 11, so maybe we should say 11, but up to the ones that we think need to be prioritized. And then we move forward anything that's got 2 or more initials, because that's what makes a committee. If it doesn't look, if we haven't been able to convince our comrades or our colleagues that this is an important priority, then I think this is the year that it just doesn't move forward, and that's okay. But my recommendation is that we make sure that everybody's had a chance to put in everything that we think is worth moving forward. And then we move forward, we kind of form small subcommittees if there are 2 or more in any given row. And I think that would give us something like around a dozen things to work on, if my quick glance is right.
Right. Yeah, that sounds great. So we taking what we have here, or are you saying you wait till the next meeting if people want to add?
Now, today.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've got around a dozen ideas that would move forward, which takes our overall list in slightly half. But I think, over the last 2 years, if we haven't made progress and we don't feel like it's got legs, it's okay to not prioritize it for this next year. And then come back next year and say, here's how we want to update a plan.
Melissa, for a more workable plan, then, and I like the prioritization you just did. It's very simple, very straightforward. We've got a little bit of a quorum on certain rows. Do you then do a save as sustainability plan priorities V2?
Yeah.
and we just strip it down so that we can focus.
I think that's what I would do, Steve. Yeah,
And then we have this as a historical document. We know
Yeah.
where we've been, we know what we've tried, and now we do a save as and come up with the short list.
that's exactly what I would say. You know, not that we forget the stuff that we've done, but and it's really just thinking about it for the next 12 months, where do we really want to put our energy?
Yeah, that sounds great. Okay,
Yeah.
so then,
I like that. Can we do that right now? How easy is it to do a save as? It's like one person have to do a
We can do it right now. I can do it. So
okay.
here's what I'd say. So, and again, Aaron, I'm just going to check in with you, because if we use that threshold of we've got to have 2 or more, having every person indicate their vote is super important.
That's fine. I'm not seeing anything on the screen. That's what I'm having problems with right now. So I'm taking everything in audio. But
So
visual,
you can't see the list of priorities.
no, I can't. I'm the Zoom meeting right now. No.
Okay. That seems pretty important. Are you able to access it in a different way?
Could we email this current document to Aaron in a different just email it somehow?
Well,
Aaron,
when you send me the invitation for the Zoom meeting, and I click on the link for the agenda, things come up through there, but I can't sit there and coordinate the actual meeting with what's going on visually. I mean,
Right.
I could do it separately.
Aaron, if I were to email you the link, are you able to access your email like Steve suggested?
or even if
Uh,
I think even that, like inside of the packet for the meeting, I think that that's the same link that you're using, because I just clicked on it and got the places where we've initialized
Okay.
stuff. I think it's the same link.
For the agendas, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, like that link that's in the packet, where it says sustainability plan. I think it's the exact same thing where we were entering the our initials.
I got the sustainability agenda, sustainability meeting packet. Okay, let me go here. I got the link.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm not seeing that.
It should be under general business, number 4, letter B.
Okay, hold on. All right, hold on. Let me see. Okay. Priorities, recommended actions. Is that correct?
Yep. Yep. And it
Okay.
looks like you just joined that Google Sheet.
Okay. And no, it just went blank. Son of a bitch. Okay. Okay, I see your names in here. So
Yeah. So
which
H,
column?
column H.
H.
Yep. And what we've just done is everybody's put their initials into the top. I arbitrarily said 10. I put my initials next to 11. But you know, basically what I'd say is all of the priorities that we've created as a committee that you genuinely think need to be prioritized over the next 12 months. And the further definition of that is, what do you think is realistic as well as important over the next 12 months is how I framed it.
Okay. Right.
And
And
while
I think
you do
Aaron's gonna
that-
have to he's gonna have to double click into each cell that he wants to select, right? Because otherwise I think it might wipe out our votes.
Oh, right, good point. Yeah, so add your initials, but don't write over other people's initials. I'm glad
Yeah,
you said that, Steve.
That's what I almost did a few times. That's what was taking me a while there. I'm like, I deleted a row once and had to go back and like undo. I'm like, okay, this is
Control Z.
yeah. I almost like wiped out like everyone's initials in one column. I'm like, all right. I was like, this isn't what I think we were supposed to do.
I got the box. I'm just trying to get my initials in there.
If you double click, it probably should show up next to one of the existing initials. That's what we're hoping.
So Michael, while Aaron is doing that, how does that sound as a process that we select whatever number has two or more, and then we take a look at who's put their initials in and we move those priorities forward, creating kind of a subcommittees.
No, that sounds great. That's
Awesome. Okay.
That was sort of like what I was kind of like hoping people by when I said basically like pick your top five, it was like those are the top five that like you want to see done or ones you would work on to try to weed out through these 25 to filter through the ones that we are gonna really focus on. It was like that exact same idea.
Cool. All right.
Okay.
Aaron, how you doing? Are you making your way through?
Making my way through, but I'm having a problem putting my initials in. No, let's see. Sorry, guys. I'm double clicking. I'm putting my initials in, and it's
Oh, it's all good.
my apologies here. I can't. I think I have my initials on priority 24.
And Aaron, if it's helpful, if you're having any trouble, I'm happy to, if you can look through it and you can tell me, I can add your initials in pretty quickly.
Melissa,
Okay, do that.
Do you want to do that?
Yeah, do that, please.
All right. Okay. Fire away.
What 24 I can
Return-
see.
Oh, yeah, that one. Okay.
Yep. Got 24.
And I'll go with 19 again, too, please.
All right. Got you.
And 16. And 15. And 11. And then we'll do it.
That'll do it. Okay. All right. So what does that give us? Steve, to your point, let's go ahead and let's I think what I'm gonna do is rename this the original. And then I'm gonna do a save as and call it version 2.
I like it.
Okay, share it with the same people. And that's creating, so what I'm gonna do is chat out the link to that. Aaron, I'm not sure how to get you the link to it since you're since you're having some technical issues, but I'm going to chat out that link in just a second once it's done copying. And then maybe we can email it over to you. So just hang in there a second. All right. And Aaron, I don't think I have your email address, but Brian, if you're screen sharing, so it's hard for you too. But I guess you could screen share this new version. At least that would be helpful.
Let me see if I can get it out of the chat, and you can tell me if that's on.
Yeah, that's on.
Okay.
Yeah, I see version 2.0. I like it.
Sweet. All right. So Google Sheets, it's not as intuitive to me. So maybe somebody has a quick way for filtering. If you've got, I guess that's what I'm going to do. I got it. Never mind. I'm going to filter for anything that's got 2 or more.
Column H.
All right. Now I think I think that just prioritized it for, I think that just filtered for everybody, right? Are you looking at, let me look back over at the Zoom. Brian, are you able to screen share the new version?
Oh, did it stop? Okay.
I am seeing one row 3 that just has one
person.
person.
Yeah, you're right. And I don't know how to get rid of it because it's not.
Can we manually delete that row?
Maybe. What's going on with my filter? Maybe it's yeah, I'll just delete it. So this is what it would leave us with, everybody. It would leave us with focusing on establishing a water retainage project on Highway 14, continuing to push on creating a goal for 100% clean or 100% clean energy. Focus on energy programs, reducing pollution from entering our waterways, creating some standards around stormwater management, composting program, prioritizing energy efficiency and conservation in all new municipal purchases, setting another goal setting around electrification of buildings. Looking at the village's comprehensive plan, creating some sustainability checklists, and encouraging new homes to meet Energy Star home standards. So to be clear, we don't really know how to do these things yet, but I think with a smaller grouping with a smaller list, we can probably make some headway. How does this list feel to folks?
This looks really good. Can we, I forget what the beige formatting was. I think it was a holdover from some other discussion we have.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of that, and let's get rid of all the statuses.
Great.
Okay. Because like green, I thought we did that. We were successful in promoting focus on energy.
Yeah. I think that it's here because it's just an ongoing thing. So yeah, we did it, but you know, hosting one meeting may not be we might need to do more.
Yeah, I think the different colors, I mean, we did have a focus on energy presentation. 2 people showed up to it. Green says we did it. I don't think green necessarily means it was a success. The same way the composting one was beige. I mean, the way that it's originally written is that we were going to have a village-wide composting program managed and staffed by the village. And I think we discovered that that is a very difficult thing to do. But I think, teaching people how to compost and doing it on smaller, perhaps individual basis, or multiple neighbors getting together and doing it and stuff like that, I think that's still a very viable thing to do.
Yeah.
So I think what we said is probably like 4 or 5 months ago is probably not a village-wide site for composting. That's why it was beige.
Maybe. I also think the beige was my original color coding just to segment different, just to make it more readable. I think we had I think it was groups of 5, and it was like blue. Some were blue, some were beige, just so that we could take it chunk by chunk on each meeting. So, but the yellow might be why it's yellow. So let's get rid of all that. So here's a more simplified version. Now I'm also happy to wipe out column. Now it's column F, because I don't think we need I guess we do need our initials to know who's signing up for those committees.
Yeah.
I just want to.
We probably don't need column E anymore.
Yeah.
Well, we're also missing 2. It missed priority on the old one. It missed the CARP C and the light ordinance one. Because if I went down and count them, those didn't get brought over on your filter for the people.
Oh, okay. But they had 2 or more people?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for letting me know. Let me head back over there.
It was on the old priority 4 and 5, the CARP C and the light ordinance. Because I went down and was counting them.
I'm glad you did that.
There were 13 here and only 11 came.
See, teamwork makes the dream work. I'm really glad that you said that. All right, let me.
In that one column that we just nuked, I think it actually may be helpful to keep that in case, because I think there's been some work done on that, or at least we thought there was going to be some work done. Melissa to talk to so-and-so.
So this one, the one I put it back, does that work now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking that might need to stay.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's keep that. So this is, I'm gonna fix the formatting here, but what we're left with are 13.
Yeah, I don't know if it missed them, if there was a return, or like if there was a second line might be the issue there, because, or I just don't know how you filtered.
Did we not have Mike speak to us?
We did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and there was the whole green infrastructure plan that they put together, and I thought the village voted to accept that.
But I think they didn't get the funding, and maybe that's they accepted it, but without the funding, they couldn't move it forward. That's
okay.
Brian, does that sound right to you?
The funding for what again, Melissa?
for what's now priority 12, row 13, working in the new document, working with CARPC to reduce the threat of flooding.
So,
There-
yeah,
Yeah,
we have a
proposal.
grant application out right now that is pending review with FEMA. But FEMA, given the crazy uncertainties on the federal level with the budget, they halted all allocations of additional funding. I think they were saving it based on the stopgap, additional funding that keeps getting approved ad hoc. So they're not allocating the funds right now. So it's kind of in a holding pattern in their realm.
So why? So for row 12,
I just
Did I
altered
miss
that to
something?
bring that up.
4 and 5.
Yeah,
It
no,
was-
you,
Yeah,
Yeah, it was John
I-
and Steve, but for some reason your initials aren't coming through. I wonder. Okay.
no, Steve had somehow hit a return, so it wasn't on a line, which might be why it didn't work it. I just fixed row 12.
oh,
Like
okay.
you see how yours was like JB and SD above each other and it didn't like get it. So on the new document, I just put your parallel to each other and
So was the voting on that other document multiple lines? Is that,
it just needed two initials.
okay.
Yeah, and I think we're good. I think we got everybody. But some
Yeah.
people know how to use Excel and Google in sophisticated ways, so they can create like a carriage return, and other people just have to use a lame comma. So that's what happened. But I think we're good. Michael, I feel like we're in a super good place, and I'm wondering about if everybody can take responsibility for if you've got initials here to I see my initials on like a lot of these. There's like 2 that I'm not on, but I would be happy to reach out to the folks who are on these priorities with me and pull together a small subcommittee. So could we agree to try to meet with the people who are on those priorities between now and our next meeting? And then maybe move toward adjournment just because my babysitter is about to turn into a pumpkin.
Well, yeah, we definitely can. That sounds great. So people who are on these things, yeah, start reaching out, trying to figure out how you want to implement them. Yeah, that sounds absolutely fine.
Sure.
Awesome.
So that kind of brings us sort of moving out of this, knowing that that's what we're doing moving forward and the next steps in future meeting. With that being said, do we want to have a meeting in December or not? Yes, no, ideas. I know in years past, it seems like we haven't had a sustainability meeting in December, but we can do one. I just wasn't sure. Wait.
It's funny that you said that because I think I actually have a conflict. I'll be in Minneapolis that night.
Is
So,
that would be the 6th?
the 8th,
No.
I thought.
It would be the
No, you're right.
second.
It is the 6th. Yes, and I'll be doing a college visit and a meeting in Minneapolis.
Or is it the 13th?
It would be the 13th. It's the second Wednesday.
Oh,
Ah,
ha! Then I'm also gone. I'm just in a different city that night. I'm sorry.
Mm.
I'm in Los Angeles. I still can't make it.
Okay,
I vote that we don't have that one.
All right.
that's fine. We haven't. What do other people feel? What do you want to do?
Michael, I'd add that I have a suspicion we're going to be moving a December board meeting up a week or 2 because the current village board meeting
Right.
falls on Christmas.
Right. So that's going to be getting moved up either to the 18th or possibly, is it going to be as early as the 11th, you think, or no?
It's going to be one or the other,
Right.
more than likely.
Yeah. Well, that's that. Oh, what do you think? Not have it? Wait till
I make a
Jan-
motion that we don't have it.
Okay.
Yeah, I second it.
I,
Okay.
aye.
Okay, it sounds like we aren't having a December meeting. Voting even started before.
Oh, you should say
Merry
let's
Christmas.
vote.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Yeah,
But that's
absolutely.
okay, because it gives us 2 months to make some progress on these things.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds great. Okay, so that will you it's in the chat. Melissa, are you like in charge of this document? Can you email everyone the link to this new version 2?
You bet.
Or-
How about, because I don't know, Aaron, I don't think I have your email address.
Well, you could, if you email it to
Like-
me, I can just email it
Yeah.
out to everyone if you want me to, if you want to do it like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it right now.
Okay, that sounds great. And I will email this new link of plan version 2 out to everyone.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Okay.
This has been super productive. Thank you
Yeah,
guys.
Thank you.
This feels like we've got some momentum.
Yeah,
Okay, so
thanks,
We
everybody.
do.
just to do this, are
Thank
there any
you.
future agenda items?
Oh, no.
Okay. Is there an adjournment? I just have to do it. I feel like I have to go down
I
all my
make a
things.
motion to adjourn.
Steve will
I
second that.
second it.
Okay, okay, all those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Aye, all those opposed, nay. We are adjourned. Thank
Thank
you.